Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And this is an episode that we can file under The Police Are Not Your Friends. We've done quite a few of them. This is another one. This particular one is where Claire Waxman, the Victims Commissioner, is saying that the police should be stripped of their powers to deal with the victims of R. They're failing them, they're not looking after them properly. I mean, that's on top of the fact that they rarely investigate these cases and have a failure rate of 99% or more. The police are not your friends, ladies. So let's have a look at this article and find out what the hell is going wrong. So this is the article. The headline really sums it up. Met Police should not offer support to victims of R and are failing women. Commissioner warns after a string of S crimes by serving officers. The Victims Commissioner Claire Waxman says care for victims is going backwards. It is. It's almost Victorian at the moment. The victim Juliana Talizzi said, I felt like I was treated as a suspect and not a victim. And a study from 2021 says 60% of London's alleged victims withdrew their complaints. Some felt they were belittled and their experiences minimised by the police. And a recent report looked at 450 allegations of R made across the capital for the findings. No surprise at all. While they can tackle car crime, they will. While they can tackle easy crime, they will. Anything involving any kind of work or actual investigation, they try not to do because it costs money and they're rather lazy. But also, it's only R. It's not as though anyone was, harmed. That's the mentality they have. Oh well, she probably deserved it. That is definitely a mentality they have. Anyway, the Met Police should be stripped of their responsibility for caring for R survivors because they are failing women, London's Victim Commissioner declared today. Claire Waxman has accused Scotland Yard of terrible responses from the police to R survivors and says after years of letting them down, an independent body should be set up. Ms Waxman says that would allow detectives to concentrate on solving the crimes and getting the perpetrators behind bars. One alleged victim said last December that reporting it to the Met was the biggest mistake they'd ever made. No, I don't find that odd at all. I think that the Met Police are appalling. They don't care about this crime because, let's face it, we've seen the reports of how many of them actually do it. Or when they are investigating it, they're taking pictures, they're sharing comments. It's appalling, and it keeps coming out. They keep firing them, but it keeps happening. So they keep saying, oh, lessons will be learnt, but these lessons, they're not being learnt. Victims in London have repeatedly said they were not believed and were belittled by police. A recent study showed the number of people withdrawing the allegations within a month of making them has risen sharply amid already low conviction rates, as a number of officers facing abuse cases, including one charged with 44 counts of R. So the police themselves are committing the crime, so no wonder they're not that bothered about investigating it. I can't have the victims being treated like this any longer, Ms Waxman told the BBC. I'm not shocked. We hear some terrible responses from the police to the survivors. This shows a complete lack of understanding and specialism of those officers, she said, adding that those officers should not have been anywhere near the survivors. It's frustrating for me. 5 years working with the Met as a critical friend to try and move them forward, and they just haven't moved forward. In fact, they've gone backward. I was here to improve the victims' experiences, and if I can't do that with the Met, I'll have to find another way. You're not going to change them because it's a cultural thing. This is a culture within the Met. You have to look at senior management. They've just got rid of Cressida Dick. Great name. She's gone. They've got the new one coming in. He won't be much better. Probably woke. Probably be seen dancing in the streets wearing, rainbows rather than doing, his actual job, because they don't like doing their job. Because, as I say, they're fat, donut-eating, lazy bastards. Unless you do 31 miles an hour in a 30 zone. Oh, they're efficient as hell then. In February 2020, Juliana Tolizzi was R-ed by her then boyfriend, Hubert Grelac. Waiving her right to anonymity, she said of the police, I felt completely unsupported. At this point, I felt I was treated as the suspect and not the victim. And there he is, Mr. Very Nice Man. He's being prosecuted at the moment for the R and M of Sarah Everard, and he's not the one being done for 44 other R's, those other officers. Dame Cressida Dick was dramatically ousted as commissioner in February by London Mayor Sadiq Khan, the tiny, tiny man. Following a succession of scandals, they included the R and M of Sarah Everard by serving officer Wayne Couzens, the exposure of a cadre of officers at Charing Cross Police Station who swapped jokes about R-ing women and ending black children, and the jailing of 2 officers who photographed dead bodies at a cordon, including, it must be said, their genitals. They actually undressed them and photographed the genitals. Not reported there, reported elsewhere. This is the level of policing in this country. People, please be aware, the police are not your friends. Last Friday, Sir Mark Rowley was named as the next Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police by Priti Patel, who's now out of a job, thankfully. And Sadiq Khan, the tiny man, who have backed him to turn around the failing force. That isn't going to happen. Not while you've got Sadiq Khan as the Mayor of London. Scotland Yard's former head of counter-terrorism and ex-Surrey Chief Constable has beaten Nick Fgrave, a Metropolitan Police Assistant Commissioner, to the £292,000 a year job. So nearly £300,000 a year to do a job which will undoubtedly involve you dancing with gay people at an LGBT event rather than, investigating crime. The Met was put into special measures last month because it's rubbish. After a devastating inspection revealed a catalogue of new failures, as well as the old ones, including officers failing to record tens of thousands of crimes, ignoring almost all victims of antisocial behaviour, letting down vulnerable victims, and neglected a huge backlog of child A referrals. These are the police. Remember that it's the police that aided and assisted the R of 15,000 children. They are not your friends. Anyway, this useless man who's coming in, what's his name? Rowley, big fat Rowley. He replaces Cressida Dick, who was forced to quit in February following a torrid year of scandals which saw the M of Sarah Everard by one of her officers. The force being branded institutionally corrupt, not just the Met, all of them, by an independent inquiry, and 2 officers jailed for photographing the bodies of M victims. So Mark said, our mission is to lead the renewal of policing by consent, which has been so heavily dented in recent years as trust and confidence has fallen, because you haven't done your job, because you've pandered to the woke minority. Oh, don't arrest him, don't do that. Oh, you're picking on me because, rather than, actually, you're committing a crime, you're nicked, son. If we went back to the early 80s, when you had big men with big truncheons going in and battering people, crime would be a lot less. He went on, we will deliver more trust. You haven't got any. You can't deliver more because you haven't got any. You mean some trust, because you've got 0 trust now. Less crime, wait and see for that one. And high standards for London, I doubt it very much. We will work with London's diverse communities, as we say, they had to get the diverse in, didn't you, son? As we together renew the uniquely British invention of policing by consent. But there is no consent. We don't consent to your type of policing. We want real policing, not investigating crimes, which is your kind of policing. Do your damn job. Sir Mark said he was deeply honoured to take up the role. Well, he's deeply honoured to be given $300,000 a year. And then he goes on and talks a load of old crapola, because nobody really interested in what this lazy, woke tosspot is going to say, because he's not actually going to do his job. I'll be sitting here in a year's time, no better off. Lots of scandals. So Samark has made clear to me, this is Sadiq Khan, the tiny man, says, Samark has made clear to me that he's determined to be a reforming commissioner, committed to implementing a robust plan to rebuild trust and confidence in the police and to drive through the urgent reforms and step-changing culture and performance that Londoners deserve and begging for. As Mayor, I will support him and hold him to these promises as I continue to hold the Met to account. Yeah, you're the one, as Mayor, who's watched the M rate in London go up by a factor of 20. So I don't trust you either. A letter from HMICFRS, Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabularies and blah 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 blah, cited numerous fiascos at Britain's largest force, including the M of Sarah Everard, the racially profiled stop and search of Team GB sprinter Bianca Williams, and the strip search of a 15-year-old black schoolgirl known as Charles Q, who was not taken to a police station or inspected by medical officers, but was taken in school to an empty classroom, stripped and inspected whilst on her period. This is the level of policing London is getting, and it's not just London. As I keep saying, the police are not your friends. Other calamities including the jailing of 2 officers for taking photos of the corpses of M's sisters, Nicole Smallman and Bieber Henry, and Operation Midland, the disastrous probe into the fake claims of VIP P. The force was also heavily criticised for failing to stop Extinction Rebellion protesters from shutting down London, with videos of officers dancing with the protesters, sparking claims the force was not taking the issues seriously. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Anyway, I've had enough of that. I'm coming up because otherwise it'll go on forever, me telling you how bad the police are and why we need to do something about it. It really seems every few days I'm doing a video on something fresh about how bad the police are. I'm not regurgitating old stuff. It's not like, oh, he's dragging that up again. It's, what fresh hell is he talking about now? These people don't learn. They look at one case, oh, lessons will be learned, lessons will be learned, lessons will be learned. And they completely ignore the fact that no lessons are ever being learned. It's just an ongoing river of corruption, filth, degradation, incompetence, greed, you name it. If you can think of any word that fits in to this fiasco that is the police force in this country. Nobody loses their jobs over it. Nobody is being held accountable, and it should be from the Home Secretary down. These sort of things need to be thoroughly inspected, thoroughly investigated. Heads should roll, not platitudes of, oh, lessons will be learned and there'll be some internal discipline. No, we want to see senior roles being fired, senior roles going to prison. Because only then, when commissioners or chief superintendents are actually being banged up in Wormwood scrubs for 2 years, you know, with Bubba in E-Wing, only then will change truly happen. And maybe then they may take some of these crimes seriously. But certainly they're never going to take R seriously when they're the ones committing it. Anyway, I'm going to take a deep breath and bring this to a close. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay away from policemen, and goodbye.